Okay, may as well start on time. Welcome everyone. I want to thank the SEA and Tanakh Study for hosting another day of Torah. One day, I hope in the not too distant future, we'll be in person again because I'm kind of sick of these Zoom classes. But in the meantime, at the very least, we'll be able to be together on the computer in the virtual atmosphere. I'd like to discuss together with you some thoughts on the words of the rabbis in the Gemara with regards to 17th of Tamuz, but more specifically, this whole time period, which of course has been HaMisarim, time period in which we're thinking about the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. It's from now all the way through Tisha B'Av. And so what I'll do with you, hopefully successfully, is analyze a few of their statements and in turn try to derive what it is they're trying to get across to us in terms of our understanding of what we really lost or are missing with the Mikdash. So here's the direction. The vantage point, the mind you have to have is that the rabbis are living post Beit HaMikdash. As a result, they're looking for words of consolation. Of course, they're going to hint at what we're missing, but they're often going to be saying, it's not that bad, we're not in that terrible situation. So that's the several statements of the Chachamim I'd like to read with you and make some sense of them. First one is a Gemara in Masechet Makot. The Gemara in Masechet Makot has this statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. He's Doresh Pesukim in Tehillim. The Pesukim in Tehillim refer to the words of David, of course, in which David has this statement. Many, if not all of us, know the Shir HaMa'alot le David. Samachti be'omrim li bet Adonai nelev. Right? Says the Midrash, says Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. It's as if David turned to God and said, I'm excited. My son Shlomo is going to build the Mikdash, and I heard people all excited to bring korbanot there. Says the Midrash further, it says, but then God responded to David. It said, David, don't only look at your son, the future of korbanot, think about yourself. Ki tov yom b'chaserecha me'alef, your study of Torah, your calculation, your understanding of Torah is greater than even 1,000 korbanot that your son Shlomo and his Mikdash will have in us. So if you, anyway, I don't know. I feel like I'm hearing others. Okay, if you to take a look at that Gemara, just scratch yourself on the head already and say, well, then what are we missing? If the Mikdash was sufficient, but only to the extent that a little bit lower. Can I? There it is. I got it. Okay. So in other words, that the Midrash is describing, and again, it's post-destruction, God turning to David and saying, listen, study of Torah connects you to me in almost a way that's greater than korbanot. Should we be that sad right now? Because we're all able to study Torah, so we might not have korbanot. Tov yom b'chaserecha me'alef. Do you follow the difficulty? There's another well-known Gemara in Masechet Berachot. The Gemara says, "Miyom sheharav Beit HaMikdash," from the day of the destruction of the Mikdash, "Eno lahakadosh baruch hu ba'olamo ela arba amot shel halacha bilvad." After the destruction of the Mikdash, you want to know what we have left? We can still connect through Torah. So let me ask you a very basic question. Imagine today's day and age, we have the Mikdash. Where's the Mikdash? It's in Yerushalayim. Great. We can visit there often. We're not living there. Right? Whereas when I live in my home or I live down the block from a yeshiva or a synagogue, I'm able to constantly, on any spur of the moment, connect to God through Torah. So I'm missing the Mikdash. Says the Midrash though, but you still have something really great. Not only do you still have something, you have something which seems to be greater. You have a connectedness through Torah. So what are we mourning? Again, it's words of consolation, but you have to ask yourself that question. If the imminent connectedness to God is manifested through Talmud Torah, so should we be so sad that we lost the Mikdash? So I would have been careful about the following mashal, but it wasn't too long ago that I was in Disney World. And in Disney World, I think I saw more rabbis from our community than I see on a daily basis in our community. Actually, I don't think, I know I did on one day in Disney World. And I saw in the minyan in Disney World more people from my synagogue than I do on a daily basis in my synagogue. So I've decided Disney World is kosher to bring as a mashal. But it's a true one. In the moment, I didn't appreciate it. In hindsight, I do. We were in Disney World a few years ago, my family, my wife, my children, and my daughter, who at the time I think was 5 years old, was insistent that the only part of this experience that was going to be worth it for her, worthwhile, was meeting with Mickey Mouse. She needed to be with Mickey Mouse in the Grand Castle, right? I don't know if you've been there, I don't know if you've been through this, but the characters are around the park. They're somewhat easy to approach, but Mickey Mouse, you have to wait on a long line. There's no fast pass. There's no shortcuts to get in. And you wait an hour and a half. I think we waited until we actually got to Mickey Mouse. When I was younger, we weren't allowed to go to Mickey Mouse because it was too long a wait. My parents said it's not worthwhile. But it was my daughter nagging us the whole time we went to wait for Mickey Mouse. We waited online for an hour and a half. And as you get closer, you're in this large castle, which of course is a facade. But as you get closer in the line, the castle gets more grand and you see more mystical type of stuff. And you see the armor and the I don't know, spears of all the warriors and the I don't know, Mickey Mouse Army or something like that. And you kind of, along the line, everything's building up within you, even as an adult, until you finally meet with Mickey Mouse, right? That's what happened. And we met with Mickey Mouse, and it made my daughter's day, and she was crying quite literally as we met with Mickey Mouse. But the next day, we were in one of the other parks, and there was another Mickey Mouse, would you know it, right? Mickey Mouse wears several costumes, and several people wear the Mickey Mouse costume. So there was another Mickey Mouse. And so I said, easy, 10-minute wait, let's go meet with this Mickey Mouse. And so, you know, of course, my daughter told me at the time, that's not the real Mickey Mouse. Right? The real Mickey Mouse was in the castle. This is the sketch Mickey Mouse. We don't need to wait for this one. Of course, the irony as an adult is, you know, is striking, but what was she saying? Really, what was she saying? And I asked her, I forced her to tell me what she was saying. And she told me two things. I'll tell you the first thing now. The first thing was, she said to me, Mickey Mouse is in the castle. You're not going to meet Mickey Mouse outside of the castle. There's a fake Mickey Mouse outside of the castle. The real Mickey Mouse is only in the castle. And you know what she was describing to a certain respect is the difference between, and I mean this, post-Mikdash and living during the time of the Mikdash. Right, in order to get to Mickey Mouse in the castle, it took a long time. It was an hour and a half wait. You didn't have that much airtime together with him to discuss and talk and all that sort of stuff. But in that moment, there was a feeling of grandeur, of majesty, of kingship. I mean, there was an awesome feeling in the room. My daughter was crying. That is catching God, so to speak, for us from an experiential perspective in his most true form, because we feel the awesomeness of the moment. As opposed to, yes, there's a beauty of attaching yourself to him constantly through studying Torah. But it's just not the same thing. It's not, quote, the real Mickey Mouse. I mean, similarly, I don't know how many of you are teachers, but even if you're students, I think about the difference between pre-corona and post-corona learning, right? Zoom world, as we refer to it, and pre or post, hopefully, Zoom world. Right? I'll tell you, as a teacher to high schoolers, for the kids, there's no question they're loving this experience. They're lying down on their bed in their pajamas, they're eating while they're in the class, they're walking in and out, they raise their hands when they feel like it. There's a beautiful experience for them and so forth. And in truth, there's a certain comfort to that. That's the accessibility of Torah, right? That's the fact that I can connect to God even when there's no mikdash. But you know what's lost? And I mean this, and if you pushed your child or push yourself to pinpoint what's lost, it's the feeling of the classroom. It's the presence of the teacher. It's the give and take in person, in the moment, in that atmosphere. That's lost. It's the Mickey Mouse in the castle, which we don't have any longer. And again, lehavdil, we should only get back to real in-person classes because that experience is so much greater, it's so much more real. I think that's, Chachamim referred to in several places, Batei Knesiot, synagogues, as mikdash me'at. They don't refer to it just as a mikdash. There's certainly words of consolation in that, right? You could still connect to God even though we don't have the true mikdash. But they append the word me'at to it, right? The mikdash that you attach to me in, the Bet Midrash, the study hall, the synagogue, the knis, whatever it is, it's still me'at. You'll even have an experience there that sometimes is greater than you'll have at home or in the wilderness, wherever you are. But it's still me'at. It's just not the same thing, right? And that's the loss of the Mikdash. The loss of the Mikdash means the depth of connection has been diminished. It's been diluted. Let's pay attention to another statement of the Hachamim, another one of these, Miyom Sheharab Bet HaMikdash, from the day that the Mikdash was destroyed. Here it's a Gemara in Masechet Bava Batra. Says the Gemara, it's a funny statement initially, so hang with me and then, for the depth of it. Miyom Sheharab Bet HaMikdash, Nitela Nevuah Min HaNevi'im V'nitena LaShotim VeLaTinokot. The Gemara says from the day of the destruction of the Mikdash, Nevuah, prophecy, was taken away from the Nevi'im, from the prophets, and it was handed over, and you're waiting for those words, I don't know, to the scholars, to the rabbi. No, says the Gemara, it was given over to the Shotim, to the insane individuals, the people who have cognitive disrepair, and to the Tinokot, and to the little children. First, just in terms of the statement, it's a jarring statement. Nevuah, again, you'll say it's a midrash, don't take it too literally. I'm not, but even not too literally. What's the Midrash saying? So just first and foremost, just on the side, in terms of the Midrash itself. The Midrash itself means the following. I think you'll relate to this. When you turn to your children, or your students, or your colleagues, whatever it is, the younger the person, oftentimes, not always, oftentimes, the greater their creativity. Right? They haven't been boxed into the norms of society. They haven't been taught how to think. They still have that open. They might be way off in their thoughts, but the creativity that's apparent there, the potential is pretty great, right? A child who hasn't been taught yet, think like this is true and that's false. I mean, it's what Albert Einstein described himself his whole life as a child in mind. He was a brilliant individual, but he was unconstrained. He never felt as if he had that restraints of how I'm supposed to think and how I'm not. So sometimes he was way off. Sometimes he touched on, in the words of the Hachamim, right, like on Nevuah. That's the Shotim as well. A person who's insane isn't in line with the norms of society. It's a person who walks to the beat of their own drum. They think in their own way. Again, most of the things they'll say are way off, out of this world. Sometimes they'll say something, it'll catch you. I have a brother who's a psychiatrist. I've heard this from him more than once. They'll say something, wow, that was really true. I don't think like that. That's the statement in the Gemara. So again, the statement in the Gemara is that Nevuah has shifted gears. It's no longer the prophets. It's now the insane individuals and the children. What's the Gemara really saying in terms of our understanding of ourselves post-Horban, post-destruction? I think the point, to a certain extent, is the same, but it's a little bit more refined. It goes like this. When you have the Mikdash, another mashal. All right, here's the mashal now. We're in coronavirus and some of us are looking forward to the 60-day season of the MLB. Some of us, I'm not looking forward to it. 60 days, they're going to put a guy on second base in extra innings. I'm sorry to anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. They're going to put a DH for the NL. Okay, but some people are very excited. We're bringing sports back. Now, what's the difference beside those technicalities between this coming season, the 60-day abridged season, and a regular season? The basic difference, of course, is there's no fans in the stands, right? Until now, baseball has fans in the stands. That's the thank you, Edward Betchman. He says it's the only chance my Mets have. It's true, inshallah. Inshallah, I hope you're right. I hope you're the Navi here, right? Not Tinokot or Shotim, I hope you're right. Anyway, so the difference between a baseball game in which you have people in the stands and watching it on TV, listening to it on the radio, is the difference between defining it yourself and having someone define it for you. What do I mean by that? I mean, when you watch a game or you listen to a game, the broadcasters are interpreting what's taking place, right? You're seeing something going on, but they're telling you what's going on. They're going to show you close images of it. They're going to give you their perspective. There's sometimes gray in between zones that need to be defined. They interpret it. It's closed. You can't think on your own in that circumstance. When you're at the game and you're not listening, once upon a time, remember people used to put on those radios on their ears at the game. It took away from the whole experience. But you're not listening to that. You're experiencing yourself. You're interpreting what's taking place. Right? That's the difference between post-Horban and pre-Horban. When you have the Mikdash, when you have access to truth, when you can walk in or perceive it from a close proximity, you're interpreting it on your own. That's the nivuah of the Nevi'im. Post-Churban, it's pretty hard to get to that because you can't interpret it on your own. You're so distanced from that truth. Okay, that being the case, I'll take you one step further in terms of my understanding and another one or two of these statements of the Chachamim. My daughter, bringing us back to Mickey Mouse, told me something else. I said to you at the beginning, she said two things were different about this fake Mickey Mouse. The second thing that was different, and again, if you're a Disney World, I grew up in a Disney World, I hope I'm not exposing my father, a Disney World family. We lived Disney World as kids. It's a kosher, beautiful experience for a moment. Anyway, the other thing she said that was the problem was, when you go into the castle, the Mickey Mouse there speaks to you, and it does. These days, they figured out a way to get it to talk to you. And of course, its mouth is not moving, but they have some sort of thing. It's able to respond. He or she, whoever's in there, is able to respond to your questions, your comments, and so forth. The one in the park didn't talk to you. So she said the real one knows how to talk. The other ones, like the costumes, all the other ones. That's what my 5-year-old daughter said at the time. That rings true in this context as well. There's another Gemara, also in Masechet Berachot, and another one of these, Miyom Sheharav Bet HaMikdash, from the day of the destruction of Mikdash. So again, it's the rabbis put on that mindset, right? Those lenses. The rabbis are trying to console us. Great. They're consoling us in what fashion? From the days of the destruction of the Mikdash, says the Gemara, the gates of prayer were closed. Nin'alu sha'arei tefillah. Not so consoling. Doesn't make me so happy. The gates of prayer are closed. Says the Gemara, but afal pichen, even though the gates of prayer are closed, sha'arei dima'ot lo nin'alu. I think there's some, tear-jerking songs along these lines, right? The gates of tears are still open. So the statement of the Chachamim, right, it's quite simple, is, listen, you want to connect to God, you want to pray to Him, you still have the capacity. When you had the Mikdash, it was a lot more direct. Post-Mikdash, you got to kind of spill tears. You have to bring forth those sobs. Again, the statement, they can put it in the vantage point of the Disney world. Bring it to the coronavirus, the classes and ball games and all that sort of thing. Think about what that's saying to you. I mean, think about the difference between, Ronnie, I never asked you about this, but on your WhatsApp thing, there's a picture of you with someone important, I don't know, from a different religion. At that moment, I don't really know the details. I imagine was a significant moment, right? Significant when you're waiting to meet with an important person. The second you meet with them, you calculate, you calibrate, you know exactly what you're going to say. You're careful about every word. You remember every word. I heard it from, I have friends who met with the Lubavitcher Rebbe at the time, who was at the time a very imposing, important, central figure to Jewry. Those moments, they remember every word. As a kid, when I met with, that's the moment when you meet face to face, so to speak, with someone important, right? The statement, I think, goes like this. When we have the Mikdash, when you feel that close proximity, the awesomeness, the grandeur, that's all, the majesty is all in front of you. Your words are very carefully calibrated. You know exactly what to say. They're heartfelt. They're perfect for the moment. Post-Mikdash, when you're kind of removed from that, not removed from prayer, but removed from the imminence, removed from the awesomeness. And so now it comes to tears. Now it comes to crying. You have to really inspire yourself because the moment, the experience itself isn't created there for you. Bringing it now from less of the broader scheme of destruction of Mikdash to closer to today, to 17th of Tamuz. Jesse, I saw just appeared. Jesse, I think it was Jesse, put on the program for today, tablet shattered, relationship shattered, something along those lines. The reason he put that, of course, is, we said in the prayers this morning, it's a Mishnah in Masechet Ta'anit, says 5 things happen on 17th of Tamuz. One of them, perhaps the most prominent, is that the luchot, the first tablets, were shattered. Now, of course, that's something to mourn, right? It's a sad moment. It's post-Het HaEgel. Moshe Rabbeinu breaks the tablets. We know about it from Parashat Ki Tisa. It's something that we all mourn and cry over today, as we should. Or should we? Like the Chachamim have a famous statement. They are doresh the words Asher Shibarta. God says to Moshe, go, let's make new tablets, not like the ones Asher Shibarta. And the Chachamim have this jarring but well-known statement, Yiyasher kochacha asher shibarta. The Ashkenazim would say Yasher koach for breaking it. What's good? Hazak Baruch for breaking the tablets? That's the vision of the Hachamim. They see this as positive in its most basic sense, without getting too far. It is positive. In the moment, he saved the nation from descending, right? They were sinning at Chet HaEgel. They went pretty low. He needed to shatter, Moshe, the tablets in order to bring back some sort of order. He came close to it by shattering those tablets. So is it really a mournful thing? I mean, in fact, it's Rashi at the end of the Torah when it describes the greatness of Moshe. You could take a look at Rashi over there. One of those great statements about Moshe is that he broke the Luchot. It was courageous, it was audacious, but it was important. Is breaking the Luchot so tragic? Furthermore, the first Luchot, the Torah tells us, were Ma'aseh Elohim. They were Michtav Elohim. God crafted them in some fashion, in their entirety. The second ones, of course, are Pisol Lecha. Moshe himself crafted them. There's a certain beauty to that, right? There's a difference between your child or you making your first $100 as opposed to being given it by the parent. There's something about self-achievement. There's something about the second Luchot which describes how we matured, how we came closer in our relationship to God. So what are we mourning? I think it's again to another dimension, but the same point. Right? Again, it's the exact same point. On the one hand, we haven't lost the connection. As a matter of fact, we've become more creative in our connection. We found a way of expressing ourselves in the Torah. There's this funny midrash. It says the first Luchot, everybody remembered everything in the Torah. Second Luchot, now we got to study and try to remember. What are they saying? They're saying the exact same thing. The first Luchot, in that imminent, that awesomeness, how could you forget? You're not going to forget what took place, what you read.
Why is it not coming on here?
The second Luchot, in contrast, second Luchot, that's what we crafted on our own. So on the one hand, there's a certain beauty to that. There's a beauty to meeting Mickey Mouse anywhere in Disney World. There's a beauty to being able to come onto Zoom and learn Torah at any point, to being able to open a book at any point and connect, open a prayer book. But at the same time, there's something significant that's lost. It's that awesomeness, that majesty, that grandeur. One last mashal to try to get this point across a little bit more. It's I thought about this recently. We were at my parents on Shabbat, I think it was, and my child wanted double portion for dessert. This is a classic fight in my household. There's no double portions for dessert. You get one portion and that's it. That's what it comes down to. So 1 second. I'm told here it is. Okay. And I thought, knowing my mother, many of you might know, my mother's going to agree with me. Of course, one portion dessert. It's unhealthy to have any more than one portion dessert. Sure enough, my mother said it's Safti's house, and in Safti's house, you can have as much as you want. Double portion dessert. Come on, well, not in. We were eating outside, but she gave me my son double portion dessert. That's not the way I grew up. It's the same mother. It's the same person. I never got double portion dessert. It's the difference between being a grandmother and a mother, right? When you're a mother, so the growth is taking place in your home. This is a direct, difficult process which has a strict structure to it. It's going to work like this, and it has to work. This, of course, warmth and loving and so forth. But when it comes down to it, there's also the difficulties of being in that home together with your child and rooting for them, but bringing them to the growth in that nurturing but structured environment. Going to the grandparents' house is the post-Churban. It's the fact that I can encounter God at any time. And you know something? It'll actually feel good. It won't feel so uncomfortable. I mean, walking into his inner chamber, quote unquote, it's uncomfortable, that's scary. That's the post-Churban is the sitting back on the bed and listening to the class, being able to enjoy it while you're popping food, well, not on a fast day, while you're popping food into your mouth. Right? That's the difference between pre-destruction and post-destruction. Post-destruction, post-Churban, Chachamim are telling us there's a certain consolation which you should have. The accessibility, the ability to experience God almost like a grandparent, almost as that loving, easy to access, feeling good about it experience. That's all we want, isn't it? Maybe not. Maybe 17th of Tamuz, maybe the destruction of the Luchot, maybe the loss of the Mikdash is that reminiscence for us, the ability to wrap our heads around the fact that we yearn for something greater. It won't always be pleasant and easy. You know something? We'll have to, many of us, move to Israel if we want to have access to the Mikdash. And if we don't, we're going to have to fly there really often. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a simple experience, but it's going to be real. That's the experience of coming face to face with the real Mickey Mouse, isn't it? It's the experience of growing up in a household with parents who are looking for your growth where you grow best, even though sometimes it's filled with a certain tension, even though there's sometimes a certain fright, a certain, I'm not certain, I can't get the double dessert. At the same time, that loss, that inability to experience that majesty, that grandeur, is miyom sheharab bet hamikdash. Again, these several statements of the Hachamim, I think, drive home that point, all from different dimensions. Our experience, our relationship continues, and it should. And after Tisha B'Av, it's all we'll talk about, the excitement of being able to live life without the mikdash. At the same time, to pause and to realize, well, we're missing something greater than the feel-good experience, something greater than a 5-minute tidbit of Torah, something greater than just feeling good about this experience, but something true, something awesome. That's Miyom Sheharab Bet HaMikdash. That's what we yearn for during this time period. That's what we mourn today in the destruction of the Luchot, which have that paradoxical reality of, on the one hand, being positive, but on the other hand, leaving us yearning for something greater. Shenizkeh b'nechamat Zion, and I hope to see you in person, not on the Zoom, or maybe eating on the Zoom sometime soon. Take care. I'll see you later, I guess. Max, am I okay? You'll end it? I'll end it.